All right, day 7 of this lean muscle building training cycle, which means we're coming to the end of week 2. Just another session after this, and we will be through with week 2. As always, I have everything written down on a whiteboard so I don't have to be checking my phone constantly. All of my workouts can be accessed through the Train Heroic platform. I will link all of the programs I have out in the world in the description. So if this looks like something, hey, I want to check that out, you can using the link in the description, and you can all get a free week, no strings attached. So today's session is brought to you by the avocado. There's no sugar, there's no insulin spike. You can eat the whole thing, despite what Sweet Green tells you, that you can only have a quarter of this, and that's plenty of fats. No, you can have the whole thing. This probably, just taking a look at it, years of weighing and measuring food, maybe 160 calories. Lots of fiber, lots of micronutrients. What a lovely thing, and that's our sponsor for today's workout and today's video. But in all seriousness, the session is a great one. We've got strict dips. Now I'm not going to go for a ton of volume on the strict dips. It is going to be body weight. I'm really going to push the range of motion, stretch my pecs and my anterior delts. That's going to create more tension. So some of you might say, 8 to 12 reps, that's the standard you're going to hold yourself to, but it's body weight. Shouldn't you be getting sets of 20, 25, 30? Well, if I want to crank out, crappy reps where I'm kind of pulsing, yeah, maybe. I want great depth. I want to hold that tension. I want to accentuate all these muscles by stretching them, right? Oftentimes, the more stretch we can get in any position, the more tension we're creating, the more efficient the reps become, so I don't have to put in a gazillion reps. So anyways, I'm hitting strict dips, resting 90 seconds, and then 12 to 15 weighted sit-ups. That depends on the weight that I'm going to use, just like the range on the strict dips depends on how slow I go, how much I hold at the bottom, yada, yada, yada. So 12 to 15 weighted sit-ups. Oftentimes, I pair pushing with bending. We're gonna have some bending in the finisher. So I also like to sometimes pair my primary lift, whether that's the lower body lift or that's the upper body lift, with some ab work. I don't think you have to overdo ab work. It's usually sprinkled in about 2 times per week, whether that's in the finisher or sometimes it's in that primary strength set. But if you're really focusing on burning energy, that's what makes your abs pop, not hammering endless ab circuits and things like that. So this is just a fun way to get yourself motivated for the strength set. Dips and weighted sit-ups, I mean, what a great little combo. That's going to be a lot of fun. And then this finisher is like a descending ladder of dumbbell muscle cleans and then single arm overhead strict presses. So 9 of each, 9 dumbbell cleans, 9 overhead presses on one arm, 9 on the other, and then 7, then 5, then 3. Then you rest, and you'll do that for a second set. If I'm feeling up for it, I'll do a third set, but like I've been saying, I want to keep this efficient. I don't want to ruin myself. I don't want to trash myself. So we'll see how I'm feeling, but I may pull back and just say 2 sets is lovely. And we got all this prep work. You will see that in just a second. So why go over it? And why waste any more time when I could just jump right into the fitness? I'll see you out there. All right, prep work is a go. Trying to keep things efficient and effective. Let's move through this thing, starting with 10 seated lateral raises, always wanting to show great control. All right, 10 Solid little reps there. Then I'm going to move into 12 reverse crunches. And you might think again, oh, is that enough volume? You know, a lot of people do really quick, kind of sloppy reverse crunches. I want to show control and make sure that these are, you know, a high quality, even though the actual movement itself might be pretty simple. So I'm in this hollow position, you know, shoulder blades off the floor. Of course, my back is now going to make that farting noise on the mat, but controlled, legs down. And the reason that noise happened is that my lower back wasn't pressed into the mat enough. So that noise happens when I create a little, you know, separation between myself and the mat, and then as I come up, I close that, right? And so that air that's been trapped now gets pressed. You have to bear with me through those reps. 2 more by my count. But just trying to lift my hips up slightly. And I'm now, of course, blanking on all the other work that I've done earlier in the week, once you have a rest day in between. I shouldn't say this always happens, but for whatever reason, putting myself on the spot, I'm like, what did I do earlier in the week? It feels like my abs are a little more fatigued. I'm not sure. But at least I know, right? It doesn't really matter why. Just that I'm recognizing, okay, abs are feeling, you know, like that's creating a bunch of tension already. They almost feel fatigued. Right, that might mean I might not push the weight as much as I'd like to on the weighted sit-ups, if that makes sense. You know, I'm arching on these reverse crunches. So sometimes a simple movement, especially with control, will allow you to recognize, oh man, I'm not in a great place. I think that should be a little easier, but cumulative fatigue, poor sleep, who knows? That's why I think it's really important to stay efficient in your workouts, because if you're a busy person, you know, your schedule is always in flux. So it can be hard to say exactly what's, you know, taking you over the edge. So I think putting too much in your fitness can oftentimes backfire. Anyways, moving on, I'm gonna go for 20 seconds of a dip support hold. That's about 20 seconds. Then I'll go to a dip bottom support hold. Okay. And then 4 dip negatives, so not even hitting a full strict dip before I get into the session. I might hit 1 instead of a true dip negative on my last rep, but just feeling out, in my mind, what the toughest part of the dip is, and what you want to tune into is that control down. Dialing in those mechanics, whether or not, you know, we've done a gazillion dips in our life, I still think that front end is really important. You know, the accomplished musician doesn't just skip simple scale work, if that makes sense. Right? You got to stay sharp with your basics. All right, and now I will just get 1 true rep, see how I'm feeling, because honestly, gosh, 8 reps might even be tough right now. You know, given how I'm feeling currently, we'll see, not the end of the world, but something's up as far as, you know, again, just feeling a little fatigued. So last movement, because there's bending on the final piece, I just want to get a little something in. So 15 Russian kettlebell swings. just get the hips warm. Okay, again, I'm glad to show, an authentic, run through of prep work, especially on a day where you're like, not my best. That's important to be in tune with, not just for anyone who sees this, but just for myself. Like, you set the expectation, I'm gonna crush it, right? I think that's a good mindset to always have, like, I'm gonna really do this thing. And then you kind of recognize, all right, giving a great effort might look different now that I've gone through the prep work than it did when I first sat down to write out the workout. Right? Actually, my body's feeling a little different than what I thought it was going to feel like. So that is the importance of prep work. It's the importance of being really honest with yourself. So when you get into things, you're not constantly adjusting. You know right now, not going to be my most dominant workout day, but I'll still have a good session because I know I've got to adjust based on what I was initially thinking as far as my output. So with that, set 1, you'll see set 1, you'll see set 5. Compare and contrast. Do they look similar? Do they look high quality? And then that'll be that. All right, set 1 of the strict dips. Like I said at the end of the prep work, 8 to 12 might be a little too ambitious given the the feel of the prep work, how that went and everything. I'm still gonna go for it, but what I can do after this set, let's say I get 6 and I only stop, on the next set I can break it up and make it look a little bit more like cluster sets. 2 reps, shake it out for 10 seconds, 2 reps, and then maybe I can get 10 high quality reps. Right now I want an unbroken set, but there's also something to be said about getting the volume you came in to get. So let's go for it. We'll see how everything works out. And that's that. Let's do it. All right, there's 10. Solid quality, I'll say. Could have gone a little slower on the way down. Could have had a little bit more of a pause at the bottom, but feels pretty good. I think I can replicate that for the remainder of the sets. Of course, we'll see. But there it is. Compare that. I'm going to do the same. Obviously, I want to make sure my quality's there, but does set 1 and set 5 look the same? That's really important, especially when you're gauging, your output. So it can feel like, yeah, I'm in the same ballpark, and then you look at the video and you're like, oof, that last set was trash. It's really important to not just say, yeah, I know everything felt the same, so I confirmed it's the same. No. If it's aerobic, look at your splits. If it's strength work, obviously gauge the resistance. If it's body weight, check the video. Is the quality there? So moving on to the weighted sit-ups. Those should be a lovely time, but something to keep in mind is holding the dumbbell over my chest, elbow flexion, maybe it'll create some additional fatigue for the dips. Only time will tell. See you on set 1 of the abs. Set 1 of the ab work, the weighted sit-ups, I'm anchoring my feet under some heavy dumbbells so that I can actually use that as leverage to pull myself out of this sit-up. I'm using 40 pounds, putting it right over my chest, and that's the deal. I'm going for 15 reps. 40 isn't the craziest weight for me, but my abs aren't the strongest. So I know this will catch up. All right, 15 reps, feeling good about those. The control back is really important. You don't want to just flop down. And I think, the intuition takes over. I don't think anyone really does, but we'll see as I go along. I might actually start feeling better. The dips felt better than they did in the prep work. So this might be the same deal. Whereas you go along, motor control sinks in, blood starts flowing, might feel better about it. So I might control myself down even more and get more out of every rep. We shall see. Set 5 will be coming up for you in a second. I gotta get 2, 3, 4 done first, but I'll see you all on set 5 and we'll contrast and compare. Set 5 already, that went faster than I anticipated. Neither one of these movements or neither one of these sets really took that much time to accomplish. Maybe you can see the dumbbell markings on my chest. I'm feeling pretty solid. I will say the areas where I think things have changed is that the rate of each one of my contractions, each one of my reps, right, the rate of contraction has gotten a little faster. I'm getting a little more fatigued. Maybe the depth isn't as good. We'll see. These are all, again, it's still week 2, so it's still the opportunity to gauge how am I feeling on something like this, so that if dips come up in week 4, I'm more prepared, or if they come up week 3, whatever, I'm more prepared. That depends on how I want to do things. But food for thought for your own training cycles and if you're going to participate in my own cycles. All right, so 10 high quality reps, that's the goal for set 5. All right, a little rocky on those last few, kind of like leading with that extension of the back. I'm not going to dock myself too many points for that, but something to keep in mind. But I think that's a kind of the fatigue you're looking for inside of a strength set. The reps, the quality of the reps are still there to a certain degree, but the last few are a bit of a grind. So it's not like I collapsed, and passed out on the 7th rep. Just had to grind it out and come up with a few ways of how to get myself out of that hole, which you can see that all the time on like squats, bench presses. Sometimes you'll see somebody really slam the bar against their chest. I'm not saying that that's ideal, but there are those things that people do to grind out those last few reps, or fighting on the bench and then you kind of hump the hips to give you a little momentum. Those things can be valuable depending on the context. So set 5 done. Almost time for set 5 on the sit-ups. And let's actually just get into those since I'm almost at the 90 seconds anyways and I'm feeling pretty fresh. And let's see how these go. I will say I think these have actually gotten more fatigue than the dips. My own traditional output is the abs are a bit deficient when you compare them to other, movement patterns and muscle groups. So here's 15 reps. Let's keep them quality. Well, I know after set 1 I said maybe I'll I'll be feeling good on the remainder of these sets, and I'll slow things down, on my descent on the sit-ups. Obviously, that did not happen. I like to think that set 2 and 3 were pretty solid with the control, but 4 and 5, maybe a little bit more like, slapping on the floor there. So there it is though, feeling solid. Finisher, you're just gonna see one set, and yeah, I'll show you the second set of the finisher. I think I'm just gonna keep it at 2 sets based on how I'm feeling right now. It's gonna be a nice, high output finisher, and you will see that in just a second. I'm about to start set 2 of this descending ladder. So we have 9, 7, 5, 3. So dumbbell muscle cleans, 9 of those, 9, stripped single arm overhead presses on the right, then 9 on the left, then 7 of each, 5 of each, 3 of each. It's really that set of 9 and 7 that are a little bit more of a grind. Just checking in, I got about 20 seconds left. And then 5 and 3, you can kind of, I don't even want to say pick it up, but you can, muscle through it, because you've got just a little bit of volume left in the piece. But with that, it's time. You'll see I'm still going to try to keep some great control on it. And but yeah, it is a bit of a nasty one. I'm glad I'm going with 2. All right, let me give myself an extra few seconds. I'll go 5 here. 3, 2, 1. Gonna take a second. Suppress this because of the dips. Shoulders are pretty fried. Okay, almost, once you get through the first set of 7, you're more than halfway through the workout. So just taking a few breaths, make sure I can stay in control. Right, the fatigue from the cleans will impact the presses. Important to remember that. Give myself 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1, so round of 7 here. Those presses are starting to fade, so you gotta be smart. This is the easy part, so to speak, inside of the workout. Legs are feeling fresh. It's giving yourself enough time to make sure those presses stay quality, because it's already getting a little sticky on the left arm. 5 reps. Here we go. All right, right into the set of 3. All right. Nasty business. I feel good though. You know, the overhead press is, you know, a different texture really. I don't want to say it's not high quality, it's just a different texture than, you know, the seated presses I did earlier in the week, for example. You know, different context means that the texture is going to be different, the texture of the movement. So almost the same pattern, but now I'm going for a little more speed. I'm leaning a little bit to help kind of create some momentum, even though I'm not, you know, using a bend for my knees. Can I give myself, or can I optimize the movement where I can do it a little more efficiently? But there it is. So just did 2 sets of that after the strength work. Like I said, you know, there's a few things outside of the gym going on. I'll need to go back to the drawing board and investigate those things. My partner and I committed to no caffeine for the foreseeable future. Just trying to take a pause on that, break on that. So that certainly adjusts where I'm at energy-wise. And I can be so intense on the sugar cravings and giving into them. So I'm going no refined sugar, at least for the month. I'd like to be done with it for good, but for the month of March, I guess technically I started a little late, so early April. No refined sugar. So same thing. I might be a little energy depleted, so that could be, you know, affecting my output and everything. So, anyways, there's the workout. I feel like this is my new tradition to check in. You know, how's the pump? Because this is a lean muscle build, but man, I'm fair-skinned. I'm natural, so I don't know if you can really see it, but I'm feeling really solid with the workout, with the effort. And on to the next one. I'll see you all tomorrow.